The heavy snowfall outside blanketed the hospital in a thick layer of white. The town's only hospital had become a hub for mysterious occurrences in recent years. While some dismissed these events as urban legends, many of us believed in their reality. As a nurse working at the hospital, I had personally experienced some of these chilling events, and they were truly terrifying. One of those stories unfolded in the older sections of the hospital. These areas had been unused for years and resembled a storage room for rusty equipment. However, one fateful night, a patient in need of emergency surgery was brought into this mysterious section. The doctors emphasized the need for a swift operation, and the patient was rushed into this enigmatic part of the hospital. As the surgery progressed, the patient's screams echoed through the corridors. Nurses and doctors rushed into the operating room, only to find the patient missing from the operating table. The only trace was a trail of bloody footprints leading towards the older section. Frantically, nurses and doctors followed the footprints, but the door to the older section was closed and locked. They struggled for an hour, but they couldn't get the door open. Finally, the door swung open on its own. Inside, there was complete darkness, and a chilling cold enveloped us. The footprints led to a large wardrobe, with mirrors at the end of the room. Standing in front of the mirror, the patient looked at us in agony. However, what we saw wasn't a reflection. It was like an actual patient. The doctors tried to intervene immediately, but the patient, never taking their eyes off the mirror, stood up and disappeared into the mirror as if it were a door. Right after that, the wardrobe door closed, and the patient inside vanished as the door closed on its own. All we could hear were echoing screams and moans from inside. After that day, nobody dared to enter that old section. Following this incident, the hospital's mysteries deepened. Some claimed to see ghosts wandering the corridors at midnight, while others reported hearing strange noises. Whenever people heard these stories, they couldn't help but think about the hospital's eerie past. The town's sole hospital didn't just treat illnesses. It had also gained notoriety for its frightening stories. Nobody knew for sure what was happening, but everyone kept a keen eye when they entered the hospital. Who knows? Maybe there was still a hidden secret in that old section, and one day, the truth would come to light. After the unsettling events in the older section of the hospital, an air of fear and unease settled over the entire medical facility. Staff members spoke in hushed tones about what had happened that night, and the patients, though they might not have known the specifics, could feel the palpable tension in the air. As days turned into weeks, more peculiar incidents began to occur. It started with subtle occurrences, flickering lights, strange shadows darting across the walls, and inexplicable drops in temperature. The nurses' station, located near the entrance to the older section, became a focal point for these eerie happenings. Nurses reported hearing whispering voices, even when no one else was around. One night, during a particularly fierce thunderstorm, the hospital's power went out. Emergency generators kicked in, casting an eerie red glow throughout the dimly lit corridors. As the storm raged outside, a patient on the third floor claimed to have seen a shadowy figure standing at the foot of their bed. They described it as a tall, ghostly silhouette that seemed to be beckoning them. The hospital's administrator, Dr. Emily Johnson, had always been skeptical of the supernatural stories surrounding the hospital. However, she couldn't ignore the growing number of reports and the palpable fear among the staff and patients. She decided to investigate the older section herself, accompanied by a security guard, Mark. As they entered the dimly lit corridor leading to the older section, the temperature dropped significantly. The whispering voices grew louder, echoing through the empty hallways. Dr. Johnson and Mark approached the closed door to the older section, the same door that had once sealed the fate of the vanished patient. With trembling hands, Dr. Johnson pushed the door open. What greeted them was a sight beyond imagination. The older section, once abandoned and decrepit, now appeared pristine and full of life. Patients in outdated hospital gowns wandered the halls, their hollow eyes fixed on some invisible horizon. In the distance, they heard the haunting melody of a music box, growing louder with each step they took. Following the sound, they reached a small room where an ancient music box sat on a dusty table. It played an eerie tune all on its own, its winding mechanism long forgotten. As Dr. Johnson reached out to touch the music box, a chilling voice echoed from the darkness, "Leave this place or become one of us." She recoiled in fear, and Mark pulled her back, slamming the door shut behind them. They returned to the nurse's station, shaken and terrified. Dr. Johnson knew that whatever resided in the older section was beyond explanation or scientific understanding. The hospital's mysteries had deepened, and it was clear that some malevolent force still lingered within its walls. From that day on, the hospital staff and patients avoided the older section at all costs. The hospital continued to operate, but the unexplainable events in the older section remained a dark secret, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are best left undisturbed. Thank you very much for watching our hospital-themed horror story video. If you liked the video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and comment. See you later.